Caviar Dreamers.
Hi, Caviar Dreamers. It's the Marge and Lexi.
Here we are for another week, another Wednesday, and your weekly dose of us.
Yes, and today we are talking to the fabulous Dr. Mark Karolak, my facial plastic surgeon who did my facelift and who started my glow up. And I needed him desperately. He also did Dolores Catania. He's done a lot of my friends. He's absolutely amazing, and he just does faces. And a lot of people have asked me, Marge, who's done your face? So now we're going to talk about it, what inspired him to be a plastic surgeon, and why he's only focused on faces, and what a facelift actually is, and the difference, why we don't need fillers and Botox, and when you can get away with it and when you can't.
Yes, there's a lot of, I feel like there's so many new treatments come out all the time that people get so confused and they're stuck in the dark ages thinking they're going to need anesthesia, they're going to be down for 8 weeks for the count with surgeries. There's so much you could do, people, with injectables, little tweaks here and there. And then once you get to a certain point, you got to really just do the big job. But it's not what it used to be.
No. And
like yours was so easy.
Mine was very easy, and there's no general anesthesia. No general anesthesia for a full facelift. It's amazing modern medicine, what has happened. And it's anesthesia is really the dangerous part of surgery. Not that anesthesia is dangerous. I don't want to scare anybody. But it does delay the recovery.
It's an additional risk factor that if you don't need it, why do it?
Exactly.
So here we go. Hi, Dr. Karolak. How are you?
Hi, lady. How are you doing? Good. I'm doing great.
First of all, if anybody knows, he did my facelift. He did the Marge refresher that everyone's talking about. He did my face. He did Dolores. He's done all my friends, tons of people. And now I send all my friends to you, which we're obsessed with.
Yeah, I mean, it's been great. You have a great circle of friends. It's been nice meeting them all.
I know. But you know what I love about you? You make everybody look like themselves, but refreshed. Mm-hmm. So, right? I mean,
that's
certain style.
Yeah, no one wants to walk around having people ask them who their plastic surgeon is. I mean, they want to be complimented on how good they look, or have people guessing what it is that they did. And the whole goal is to keep them looking like themselves, but like the best version of themselves. So, to me, that's the highest form of compliment, when my patients come to me 3 months, 6 months, a year down the line, and they just keep telling me about how people keep asking them, what it is they did. If they change their hairstyle, they're just noticing there's something different about them. And fortunately, nowadays, patients are more than happy to be open about what they're doing.
Yes. Now, what made you, and I just want to clarify for everybody, because everyone's like, Marge, you did your face. I want to go to your doctor for my nose. I'm like, he doesn't do noses. He just does faces. And that's why he's so great at faces. So what made you just focus on from the neck up?
Well, from the neck up, I just, in medical school, I just fell in love with the anatomy of the face and neck. I mean, there's so much that happens, in this small area of the body, if you think about it, that eventually after, focusing in on head and neck surgery, I've started honing in on facial plastic surgery because of just the aesthetic part of it, the creativity involved in it. It helped me look at faces and problem solve and put them back to where they used to be. So when it comes to rhinoplasty, that was one of the things that I thought I was going to build my practice on early on, was rhinoplasty. I love it. It's very, for just a small area of the face, there's so much attention on that area. But eventually what I started realizing is that there are patients coming to me where I actually liked the little imperfections in their noses. I liked those nuances about a nose that had, gave them character. And I was being asked to change noses that I thought were beautiful. So I started to lose personal satisfaction in doing that type of surgery, and really started focusing in on recapturing the way people look. And that's what drew me towards facelifts, brow lifts, eyelids. It's looking at people's faces, looking at where they were, and seeing how close I can come to getting them back there.
I love that. Now tell me, it's funny because I always say I'm not big with the injectables. I mean, I think when you're young, tell me if I'm wrong, that you could do injectables, but by the time you get to a certain age, you start to look like a freak if you do too many injectables. And that's what I love about you. You're very honest about that. So tell people, because everyone's like, oh, I just want fillers and Botox. I don't want to do a facelift. And I'm like, no, you need a facelift. So just tell people the difference.
honest. Don't.
Yeah, I know you're pretty.
I'm brutally honest.
Yeah, brutally honest. But you're brutally honest at the right time, because with all these treatments that are available nowadays, non-surgical treatments, fillers, Botox, lasers, they all have their place, and they have their place in time with the aging process. But you have to. When I look at faces, I look at what's happening throughout that aging process, and it involves this collagen breaking down in the skin. So that's why in our 20s, 30s, people are doing skincare, they're doing lasers, facials, and they're getting great results. They love it. Otherwise, they wouldn't keep doing it. But eventually, they get into their mid 30s, early 40s, and that's not getting them to where they were used to. And what's happening is they've gone past the part where they're seeing early aging, which is collagen breakdown in the skin, and now they're starting to see some bone and fat loss in their face. They're getting shadows in areas that they never had them before. So fillers have become so popular because they work. It's a gel, it replaces volume, and if it's done correctly, and if it's done for the right reason, people are going to maintain their appearance or even look like the best version of themselves even up into their 50s. Problem is that they're very happy with how they look with these fillers, that it sort of starts to be just a one-way road with that, and they get to their mid 40s, early 50s, and whoever they're going to might say, well, you're just getting older, you just need more filler. Well, that's not the answer, because now what's happening is the muscles are starting to loosen in the face, and as they start to loosen, they're not able to support the filler the same way anymore. So instead of putting more filler, they should be doing less filler and just accepting the fact they're not going to get the same results unless they do something to help tighten the muscles and fix the foundation, basically.
Yeah, and I think I love that you always say that, because I've taken friends to you, and recently I've taken a friend to you, and he was like, no, you got to do this, you got to do this. You're like, you need a facelift. You know.
And not everybody wants to hear that, but I think nowadays, once they start to understand, there's so much information out there now, and I think people are becoming more educated. Once they understand, what's happening, the limitations of these procedures, you keep going the filler track, past mid 40s, 50s, 60s, you start looking like a pillow. You start looking blown up, because in order to fill that loose muscle and excess skin, you have to put a lot of filler in there. So when patients come to me and they're asking for a filler and they really need a facelift, I'm not going to put something in their face that's going to make them look bizarre. So they either do it, they either stop doing the fillers, or unfortunately sometimes they'll find somebody else to do it for them. But they really have to at least consider some sort of a muscle tightening procedure like a facelift.
Yes. You know what else? When did the trend happen? Because that you don't put people under general anesthesia for a facelift, because no one could believe that. Like, Marge, what do you mean? You weren't under general anesthesia for your facelift? I'm like, no, I got up and peed 3 times in the middle. They're like, what? I was like, well, I have a tiny bladder.
Right. Well, there's also a technique that's involved in all that. So to answer that first part of the question, it started maybe 15, 20 years ago. Even when I was in training, one of the surgeons that I worked with started doing mini lifts under local anesthesia. Just making a small incision by the ear, going under the skin, putting like a stitch in the jawline, and then removing a little bit of extra skin. And then eventually it started to progress enough that people were realizing, there's a risk for these elective procedures when someone's undergoing general anesthesia, whether it's, cognitive delays, temporary or long-term, other health risks of even just waking up and some of the things that are associated with that, prolonged hospital stays, longer recoveries. So I think the trend from, over the past 20 years has been to try to find ways to do things safer, with quicker recovery, but also not compromising on results. And that's also what's happened, is the more skilled surgeons have become doing procedures under local, the more they've advanced the type of procedures that they're doing. I mean, there's a friend of mine who's an orthopedic surgeon. They're doing hips under local. I mean, that's hip surgery. Yeah, they have. He made this special bed that he's got a patent on, and the hospitals use it. They bought them, and they're doing. It's a big orthopedic group in Manhattan.
Oh, so that's amazing. Well, I feel like the recovery is so much quicker, because years ago, prior to coming to, when I was in my early 40s, I got a brow lift and my eyes done. I was under general anesthesia. I was vomiting nonstop. The recovery was much worse. And then when I did my facelift with you, and of course I had my eyes done. Again, little do you know, people, you have to get your eyes done again like 10 years later, because I did it so much younger. The recovery was so much quicker.
Yeah,
It wasn't,
that's
it
what
wasn't
it
a
is.
big deal.
You were so sick that first time. It was really scary.
Yeah, so general anesthesia, it's like people are like, oh, I don't want to be half awake. You don't feel anything.
Right.
And I do believe, the recovery is just so much easier. Anesthesia knocks it out of you.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, it's safe. It's just that whenever there's, more more advanced types of complications, they're usually attributed to anesthesia versus procedures that are done under local anesthesia. So complication rates for under local are going to be, less severe, maybe very unusual, but maybe an allergic reaction, which can be treated. But that's about it. But the airways protect, you're breathing on your own, your body's in its natural state. And you're right, patients, they don't feel anything because you give them some medicine to help relax them and then numb it. With the numbing, nowadays, patients experience more discomfort with like lasers and fillers than they do with the numbing process for a facelift under local.
Yes. So tell people the difference between a facelift, because all my friends like, oh, I need a facelift. I just need my neck done. I'm like, that's a facelift, bonehead.
Yeah. Yes.
Tell exactly everybody what.
So the terminology that's important to understand, but a lot of surgeons and a lot of information out there pretty much says facelift and neck lifts are the exact same thing. So one is the same as the other in the sense that as the face starts to age, it starts to loosen, and the muscles in the face are connected to the muscles in the neck. So if the top starts to drop, the bottom starts to go with it as well. So most surgeons will do facelift and neck lifts together. And there's different degrees of neck lifts. One of my favorite is actually making a little incision under the chin and pulling the muscle bands together, pulling the cords back together, and then repositioning the muscles back to where they were in the face. So you get to tighten. If this area of the neck is loose, if you tighten the face up in a vertical direction and then start to tighten in almost like a fan-like pattern, it's going to lift this area of the neck as well. And then you pull these muscles together so you get your complete neck lift. But if I have some patients where I'll do isolated neck lifts on, but they have to be really good candidates for it. Not much excess skin, good quality skin. But for the most part, you're right. Facelift and neck lift are pretty much the same thing.
Yes. Now, how long? What's the shelf life of a facelift? A lot of people ask, when are you doing my? We just did my face.
Right.
So how long is this going to last till I'm back on that table?
But so there's no expiration date on it, and the best way to think about it is if you had a twin, right, and you both look exactly the same. Afterwards, you're going to look more refreshed. You're going to look younger, and then as you start aging, because it's not going to stay exactly the same way it was. As you start aging, you go 3, 5, 10, 15 years, you're going to age and you're going to get to a point where sometimes another surgical treatment is going to be your best option, but you're always going to maintain that benefit that you've achieved. So, that's really the best way. There's some people will have another facelift 8 to 15 years down the line. Others just enjoy how great they look because they're still get compliments.
Oh, okay. So that's good. So what's the youngest patient you had?
Oh gosh, 38.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm old.
38.
38. I've had about 3 or 4 38-year-old patients. That's the youngest. And really, I'm not, a surgery cowboy, but when someone comes into the office and I'm looking at how their face is aged and genetically or whatever lifestyle, however much lifestyle has taken its toll on those patients, and I look at them and I realize there aren't any non-surgical treatments that are going to achieve the results that they want. And they truly have, excess skin or loose muscle. Surgery is the best option for them to undergo non-surgical treatments and then wait to try to see results 3 months down the line as these treatments are supposed to start working, and then maybe not see the results and do it again. And they're going to end up wasting time, effort, money. I mean, it's just, it's the right treatment. It's the right treatment.
Yes.
So,
what's the oldest patient you've ever had?
Oldest was 86.
Wow, 86, and she was fine to go. She was fine.
Oh gosh, healthy as can be. And her comment was, "I'm not going in the grave looking like this."
I feel like that's the way I am.
She was, obviously.
Living room.
Yeah, it was all done with medical clearances, and she was very healthy. So, and then her doctors loved the fact that it was being done under local as well, because the older you get, the less you want to be exposed to general anesthesia if you can avoid it.
there's so many treatments now which are very confusing. So you did my first Botox. You popped my Botox cherry and it was amazing. I'm going to be honest. I didn't feel a thing. It looked fabulous. But so like, what like chart of course do you suggest for treatments for someone? So like Botox, lasers, like what is there out there before the facelift stage?
I think the best thing that anyone can do, even at a young age or even after a facelift, is try to take care of their skin. So when they're younger, even teenagers in their 20s, 30s, after 30, you get into 35, 40 years old, you start seeing volume loss. So anything you can do to start to protect the skin, keep it healthy, the more you move through the aging process, the better your results are going to be when it comes time where the muscles start to loosen. Because there's really not much that you can do to protect from muscle loosening. That's almost like a genetically set aging pattern. But I think protecting the skin using lasers, doing facials, get the right topical creams. I think the basics would be a moisturizer, an antioxidant on the skin, some sort of retinol or alpha hydroxy product, and then sunblock.
Okay, all
and
right.
Big on the sunblock.
Big on the sunblock. I know, but look at you, tan and glamorous.
You live by the beach. You have I have 3 kids. They're outside all the time. The joke used to be that I could walk from the office to my car, and just the sun would touch my skin, and I would get tan. And I remember. So even with sun, I wear 75, 50, 70, and it still tans.
I know. I feel the damage is done when you're younger because I was a very big sun worshiper, and I'm not a burner. I mean, as white as I am, I really don't get a sunburn.
Yeah,
which is just shocking.
Yeah, when we grew up, it was just sunblock wasn't really a priority. You'd go out in the beginning of the summer. As soon as school was done, you get a base burn, and then you're good for the rest of the summer. You don't have to worry about it.
Exactly.
Right? It could be too late for me. Growing up in England to a minimal sun, I had a tan in bed in my bedroom.
Yeah, Lexi had in bed in her bedroom.
I used to lay in one of my grandma's house, sucking a soda when I was like 8 years old with my sunglasses on, pretending I was at the beach. Not such a smooth move, maybe.
But that was but that's what it's like. We didn't know any better. They think the sun's it's healthy. So you get vitamins from the sun, but skin cancer wasn't as understood, I think, back then, or at least there wasn't a priority.
Yes. Yeah. Now, men also get facelifts. What percentage of your patients are men? I mean, I send my male friends to you. Now they're. But what percentage of your patients are men?
I'd say nowadays it's probably about 5%. When the financial crisis hit, that was interesting. I've been in practice long enough to go through some interesting times. But when the financial crisis hit, and there were a lot of layoffs, and a lot of these companies were going bankrupt, my male portion of the practice jumped to about 30%.
Really?
Within months. I thought things were going to slow down with cosmetic surgery at that point, and it was busier than ever. That was probably, at that time, that was like one of my best years, busiest years. But the male portion, I was probably almost doing 3 male facelifts a week.
Men probably needed to feel like they needed to look young to compete in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
When
that's what it was. Yeah, or they had time. They were either reassessing their goals, their path in life. They had more time now. They were maybe interviewing or trying to look more competitive, or just wanted it's all the same stories that I see for women as well. Something happened in life that now they wanted to start fresh, and they just wanted to feel good about how they looked. Whether it was divorce, whether it was a job, whether it was just wanting to feel better about themselves when they look at their faces in the morning.
No, I think it's important. I mean, listen, I've been obviously, I'm on Joe's case to get his eyes done. Those natural born puffs, which we're working on, which will be happening. But, he's going to be 65 this year. He's very handsome, but, his under eyes, a lot of men have those bags,
right?
Which I think need to be done. But you also, which I like what you said, is like, you don't want to feminize male eyes, because a lot of men could get an eye lift and it feminizes their eyes. What happens with that? So,
without picking on any people specifically, but when you look at the face, when you look at the face, you try to keep true to masculine qualities, feminine qualities, and also just how those patients used to look. So with men, with eyelid procedures, let's say, for instance, there's a technique that's used for eyelid surgery, and that's how it's taught. And it used to be taught that way, and you just follow the steps. You know, you make an incision under the eyelashes, you go under the muscle, take the fat out, remove excess skin, and then there's your results. But now we look, as people have aged from those procedures, and we have that history behind us that we can watch that, we'd see as aging continues, people lose bone and fat. So they start to look more hollowed out years later after surgery, unless the surgeon is aware of those types of things and takes those precautions and thinks about not just what to take out, but how much to leave behind. So like for eyes, let's say, if I'm doing upper eyelids and someone always has full lids, or they've always had full lids, the key is going to be maybe removing just some excess skin, but not necessarily taking muscle or taking fat, because once you remove that volume, now you see the shape of the eye. So you take a full, beautiful full lid and now expose the shape of the eyeball under the bones. Now they start to look kind of beady-eyed. And then next thing, you look to, as we age, the brow starts to drop. So if someone takes out all the volume or takes out muscle, skin, and fat on the upper eyelids and then lifts the brow, now you take someone that had full lids and you make them look beady-eyed, and they don't look like themselves anymore. It's just important to know what to leave behind as it is what to take out. So it's not always a cookie-cutter approach.
Yeah, I mean, that's so interesting.
Yeah,
and that's
had once to someone that couldn't close their eyes after a bang.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Like they put their eyes open.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely precautions that should be taken prior to the surgery, and that has to do with measurements, understanding the anatomy. And again, you take too much out, you're not going to be able to close the eyes. And that's another case in point. You have to know how much to leave behind, but I probably spend almost as much time doing measurements and markings for eyelid surgery as I do for the procedures themselves. They're fairly quick procedures. For upper eyelids, it takes maybe 30 to 45 minutes to do. And the markings, I spend probably about 10 minutes just making sure everything's measured correctly.
I know, that's great. I mean, I can't believe I've had my eyes done twice, but I feel like they're great and they're perfect, so I'm very happy. Yeah, I mean, by the time I croak, I'll probably have them done again. Which is pathetic in a lifetime. I'll have to have my eyes done 3 times, but you gotta look good.
But you have a very expressive face.
I do. My
really
face moves a lot. When I talk, I'm very expressive. I'm crazy. So
I feel like
that's why people love.
Amazing.
It's why people love watching you.
Thank you. No, I'm always like all my facial expressions. They're always like, "Why do you move your mouth like that?" I'm like, I don't know. It just moves that way.
You didn't train it.
No.
It just has its own
Now,
way.
would you ever operate on a family member? Say the fabulous Dr Karolak. I mean,
absolutely.
would ever do her face? She doesn't need a facelift now. She's the picture of youth. But I'm saying down the road.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the hardest thing. It's hard for me to trust anybody else with, especially my family's face. So I mean, I remember stitching up my youngest son when he had a big gash on his forehead. I've done my father's eyelids. I've done procedures on family, and definitely. I definitely probably would have to mentally prepare myself, but I do this so much. I mean, this is all I do day in, day out, so it would be hard to trust anybody else.
Which I like that, because listen, I've spoken to some surgeons that are like, I don't want to operate on my family. And I know some surgeons that have operated on their family, and they, it didn't always turn out the best.
Yeah, but it has to be perfect, right? Because
yes.
I'm going to see her every day. So.
Yes, exactly. She'll be like, Mark. They're very, exactly.
I don't want people asking her who did her facelift. I just want to compliment
No, everybody whose face you've done is beyond thrilled. I mean, I'm so thrilled. Dolores is so thrilled. Dolores is like, she feels like she's ready for another one. I'm like, Dolores, relax. Her face, her face is absolutely perfect.
Yeah, I mean, I saw her a few weeks ago, and she said the same thing. I was like, "There's nothing to even move her forward."
I said the same thing. I mean, her and I go for all our procedures, but I'm blessed because she's the one who introduced me to you. I mean, She found you. I don't even know how she found you. Do you know how she found you?
Oh yeah, I mean, it was just she was looking for a facial plastic surgeon, and she was at for me, I didn't know the backstory until she told me about it. But she came to my office, and we were, I was doing a consult on her, and she was young, 40, she's 43. So, even, so it was about, almost 7 years ago, 7 years ago. Even at that time, I started talking to her about skin tightening treatments. She's like, don't even bother with that stuff with me. I've already done it. It's not working. I know what I want, and I need a facelift. Well, fast forward, and here she is 7 years later. Now she's doing those non-surgical things, which are working great. But the backstory was that she was at, I think, a nail salon and was talking to a patient of mine. And she got my number from her, and the rest was history.
I know, which is, thank God for Dolores, because she goes and gets the procedure. She looks unbelievable, researches it, and then I could just scoop right in and go ahead and not have to do any research, which makes my life so easy. But no, I was so blessed, because the truth is, I had my eyes done years ago by a great guy in the city, which was fine, when I was like 43.
Yes.
And then I had someone do a mini lift, which was like a temporary thing. And after a few months, I was like, what the fuck? It looks like I had nothing done. And I'm not going to insult that surgeon. He's a very nice man, but it wasn't good. I saw you at the season finale, and I was like, why is my neck still hanging? And you're like, Marge, you need a full facelift. I was like, I'm in.
Yeah.
So after I had that done, I was like, oh my God, I have a youthful face again.
Right.
My son, who is so critical, he was so afraid I was going to look plastic. He's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? He's like, your face looks so beautiful. You look natural. And that's what it is. Everybody who sees me is like, your skin, your face looks so natural. And that's why I recommend you to everybody. I get so many direct messages. Everybody writes to me. I mean, it is. It's so impressive. So of course, all my friends have come to you. Then some just want to get their eyes done. I'm like, get a facelift. I want to push everybody into childhood friends of mine have come to you.
Yeah. Yeah, you've had a lot of friends come.
Yes, and I'm seeing you this weekend.
Yeah.
I'm coming on a Saturday. It's my first. I'm waking up and I'm coming with two of my friends, and one happens to be a male who wants to do his neck.
Right. I think, neck is definitely one of the main focuses for male patients also. It's just, wearing collared shirts, it just helps make them feel better about how they look in social environments. But I'd definitely say neck lifts are a big deal.
Exactly. And also I wanted to tell you, and I could say this, Teresa wanted to do her nose, and it does matter. She's on your Instagram. I convinced her not to do her nose and to come back and just do, because the liquid nose, the liquid rhinoplasty is a big deal. I said that will take away her character. If she wants to just do a little tweak, I showed her a picture. I go, do you not remember Dr. Karolak did a little liquid rhinoplasty on you? She's like, honey, I don't remember. I showed her the picture. She goes, you're right. It's so beautiful. I was like, what is that? She goes, I just told him do whatever on my face. I said, he thinned out I said, that's your character. Her face is so unique and beautiful. I was like, not fix your nose. I said, a little injection in the nose. So tell people about the liquid rhinoplasty and what that is.
Liquid rhinoplasty is probably one of my favorite procedures that's come out in the last 10 years. It is very innovative, and it's a non-surgical treatment done with fillers that helps contour the nose. And it's just like most procedures, it got so advanced now that you can lift the tip, shape the tip. It initially came out for just treating a bump or a profile, but there's actually so much that you can do now with fillers, with limitation, that can help shape the nose but still maintain that character, like you said. I see a lot of younger patients coming in, and they're 18, 20 years old, looking to have liquid rhinos because they don't want to change too much about their nose. They just want to feel more comfortable with their profile, or just straighten it out a little bit. So it's all about lighting and shadowing. So it's just injections. It's done without any, really any numbing. The fillers have numbing in it. It takes maybe 15 minutes to do, 15 to 20 minutes, and the results, are pretty impressive. They typically are supposed to last about a year or so, but I have patients where they've come in at a year out and maybe just had a little touch up with a little bit more filler, not the same amount, and then we use the rest of the filler in a few different areas. And I have patients who are going on 4 or 5 years. It's pretty incredible. It's a great way to also, do something non-surgical to improve the nose. But there are some noses that can't be treated with liquid rhino, so they truly need surgery.
Yeah, and I think a nice little tweak. You know, it is my tip drops a little when I smile. So what it will,
You can do a little
my nose is not big. You know,
you have a cute nose.
It's a cute nose but when I smile, sometimes the tip drops. I think I'm so expressive. We'll figure that out.
Yeah, but those are little things that can be done. That's where fillers are helpful. Doing a liquid rhino, or even putting a little bit of Botox under here where the muscle is that when you smile pulls the nose down.
Yeah, so it's very strong. It's like totally crazy. Totally crazy.
Yeah,
but it's funny the reaction for Teresa there. I was reading some of the comments, I guess within a few weeks after that, and people were asking her if she did her nose. And when she came to see me, she's like, "Well, what do you think I need to do?" And so I did a couple things on her. And
yeah, I think she'll be back for that because we had deep discussion about it this weekend. I sent her the photos, and it was just very, very funny because she was like, "I want it." I go, "No." I said, "No, you're going to go back and do this." I said, "You do. Yeah. It's a tiny little tweak. You don't need to have your judge." Wasn't that funny?
It was. But then she told me my nostrils are different shape since my nose job. I fixed my nose 10 years ago into a talk, and totally something random. She goes, "Your nostrils are different shape. Look at that."
Oh man, that's too because you're never going to create symmetry. That's the one thing that people don't realize. It's about looking at your best at every angle, especially when you're on TV or you're on camera all the time, like the two of you are. That you want to feel confident that no matter what angle you get caught, you're going to get caught at a good angle, and it's going to look good. And that has to do with lighting and shadowing. So if I create volume, it's going to reflect light better. It can reflect light higher. It could shadow below it, and that's really how I look at non-surgical treatments and surgical as well.
I know. Well, it's so exciting. And I mean, and listen, people fly into, I want everyone to know people fly in to see you. People drive hundreds and thousands of miles to be with you. I mean, you are so busy. I mean, we weren't allowed to have plastic surgery during COVID, but since then it's opened up, which is so great. But I'm so happy you came on today.
Oh, I really appreciate it. It's a pleasure.
I just want to ask you, what inspired you to be a plastic surgeon?
So, initially I loved medicine. I knew in high school that I was going to become a doctor. It's just, there's so many interesting fields that you can't really know. You go into, just like most people, when, most people going into a career or have their eyes set on a career, a lot of times they're going to change their mind somewhere in life. So when I got to medical school, in my third year, I got exposed to a lot of the different fields of medicine, and it's still overwhelming at that point. So what I did is, rather than trying to figure out which fields of medicine I liked, I tried to look at the fields that I didn't like and see which doctors were the least happy with their, with their field, and who was happiest in the hospital. And eventually it really started to narrow down very quickly. And I realized, lifestyle-wise, happiness, personal satisfaction, that the head and neck was what the anatomy, the head and neck is what I love the most. And then just getting that instant gratification of cosmetic surgery really sealed the deal for me. So that's really how I came to become a facial plastic surgeon.
I know. Well, you are the most talented, creative. I love the way you look at someone's face. I mean, you make everybody just so enhanced, so beautiful. Anybody's blessed to go to you, seriously, especially me. No, but seriously. Thank you so much for coming on today. We're so grateful. Tell everybody where to follow you.
Oh, you can follow me on my Instagram. That's probably the most up-to-date way to follow what I'm doing, and that's at Dr Karolak, DrKarolak. And then my website is drkarolak.com, DrKarolak.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in a few days. All right, thanks, Dr. Karolak. I'll touch it. Bye.
He is amazing. He really is. And I thought that was so interesting how he became a plastic surgeon. He looked at people and the field that they were in and how their quality of life was. I think that's something that caviar dreamers should also take into consideration. Like, if you're someone who can't work 18-hour days and, be in a burnout career, like let's say finance, that's something you should look at and think about what you want as a whole from life. Because I think having your own business and we can make our own schedules, we value that so much. And Dr. Karolak has an amazing family, a wonderful practice, and
yes, and I think it's true. You have to know what your value system is, for sure. And his priority is to be an amazing doctor. Just focus on the head and neck, and that's what those kind of doctors I like to go to, that have a specialty.
Yes,
I don't want to go to a plastic surgeon that's doing boobs, butts, faces, noses.
No,
you have to hyper focus on one area, so you become an expert at that area. Just that's what's important.
Yeah.
And he's a perfectionist at the face, and he knows everything. He can see a micromillimeter if something's wrong. I mean, he wasn't happy the way he stitched one spot of mine. He had to go back and fix it.
I know, he really is a perfectionist, but that's
And
what
he's
you want
unbelievable.
when someone is doing your face, because especially
It's your face, people.
we're discussing it at the weekend, you know, especially when you're famous and you have a very recognizable face and people like love your expressive face. Like we said at the weekend, Jennifer Grey did her
Jennifer
nose,
Grey, gorgeous,
career
over. If you have a defining feature, you don't want to take it away. We don't want to all look homogenous. There's nothing wrong with having a prominent nose. I mean, if it takes away and you feel shitty about it, again.
Yes.
But Jennifer Grey, after Dirty Dancing, we had this deep discussion, took away her nose. And guess what? She got no more parts. People didn't recognize her. It was her defining feature. I mean, she looked stunning after, but guess what? She stopped working.
No, it really changed her face, and it did ultimately end her career until she won Dancing with the Stars in her later life.
Yes, in her later life, and it stinks. And could you imagine if I didn't have this expressive big mouth? It would suck.
That'd be terrible.
I mean, granted, I did my teeth because I needed more teeth in my mouth.
Well, like you say, it had a lot of mouth.
I mean, and my teeth had to be bigger, just my upper. But I did my face because it was time. I would have done it anyway, on TV or not on TV, because I did do my eyes years ago and had to do them again. So the shelf life of a plastic surgery, which I had to ask him, chances are I'll do my eyes again for a third time before I kick the bucket.
That's okay. What's wrong with that? I love that the 86-year-old was like, I'm not going out looking like this.
It's true. No one wants to look like shit in your coffin.
No. Oof.
That's what I say.
You got to look good.
And when I'm stuffed in the hall of one of my children, I want to look good.
With Bella in your arms.
With Bella in my arms.
That's the way we
No,
like
I'll
it.
probably be cremated and live in a jar with my picture on the front of it. But anyway, Caviar Dreamers, if you ever need any facial plastic surgery, Dr. Karolak is your person. And if you want to be a plastic surgeon or any kind of doctor, I think the most important thing is to think about the life that you want to lead. It's a selfless job. You're dealing with patients. There's a lot of emotions. And Dr. Karolak, he's a great guy, and he'll talk to any caviar dreamer.
Yes, he's so open. And I think you just hit on a really good point in that too. It's as much emotional as it is medical.
Yes, for sure, plastic surgeons are emotional and any kind of doctor.
Nobody comes in saying like, I have one eye that's up here and I don't like that because it scientifically is wrong. People are like, I have an issue that's making me feel uncomfortable. I know from before I did my nose, I spent my whole life miserable.
Exactly.
And it changes your whole personality, your demeanor, the way you feel.
Yes, your confidence and everything else. And everyone's like, oh, you should be confident in who you are. But listen, when I was a younger girl, my face was tight, cute. I was adorable, in high school, in my head. Maybe some people didn't think so, but I thought so. I was fine. And then as I got older, the face started hanging, the muscles, I had too much sun. And I was like, Marge, you don't look like your youthful self. You don't look like the woman Joe met. Though in his head I did, but the guy obviously needs glasses. And everything started going south. So I had my face fixed. And then, the knockers I really should have fixed years ago. Thank God Dolores sent me to Dr. Joseph Michaels also.
Thank God for Dolores.
I mean, thank God for Dolores, mapping everybody out. So a big thanks to Dolores Catania. I just want to say that right now, for getting me all my surgeons and being the guinea pig.
And I'm so happy because I'm just going to follow right.
Yes, exactly. So we're the guinea pigs for you guys.
Thank you again for tuning in. We are back every Wednesday at Caviar Dreams Fish Budget on Instagram and YouTube. We have amazing guests coming up. So don't miss it. She's at The Real Margaret Josephs. I'm at The Life of Mrs. B. And we'll be here every Wednesday.
We'll be here every Wednesday. I'm just making the faces so you guys could see.
Look at every angle.
Literally no freaking makeup on today. Okay, so just so you see. I mean, you guys are, a lot of you are just listening, but if you want to go on YouTube and watch us, I have no makeup on, and this is my tight skin look. I mean, double chin, like this, and I don't really do that.
You do look really good.
No, it's just I look like a refreshed version of myself. I mean, I'm no Marilyn Monroe, but hey.
Well, she's dead, so she probably doesn't look that good anyway. No, face full of wounds.
True.
You look good.
Thanks.
So keep dreaming.
Keep dreaming, caviar dreamers.
Dreaming a tight skin.